Welcome to the webinar on capturing a 10% lift on donations. My name is Tim Mischuk. I'm the president of Maven Social. This is a really great opportunity to connect with all of you on looking at new donors and new monthly donors and how we can achieve outstanding results combining both direct mail and influencer marketing and social media, or at minimum, just influencer marketing and social media to drive the lift. I'll cover that with you. Maven Social is a company that develops product for influencer marketing and social media analytics. And A-Media is a direct marketing partner we work with to manage direct mail and add amplification to the direct mail process. So without further ado, I wanted to share a little bit about what are the key elements or the how we actually achieve this 10% lift that we're going to talk about today in the webinar. Well, number one is a product that Canada Post has called Targeted Smart Mail. Targeted Smart Mail is targeted at specific audience that is very similar to what you would get with Facebook, where you get a Facebook lookalike audience where you upload a list of existing donors, and their intelligence in their system, which is included in their price point, actually searches out like donors to the ones that already have donated and find those and are actually able to mail those at a fraction of the cost of the regular addressed mail, which is at about 47 cents per piece. So you're reducing your cost, but still targeting net new donors with a very strong targeted direct mail program at a lower cost. So what we're doing is targeting DM with lookalike donors. In addition to that, we're able to target social ads to the same lookalike donors or different ones, but on the digital side. So for example, if we're working with a particular nonprofit, we would upload a list of donors to Facebook, and we would then be able to look for similar demographics and profiles on social media and Facebook and Instagram, similar to what we're trying to do with the DM side, the direct mail side. Then when we add to that amplification, which is the ability to take a link on a direct mail piece or a link on a digital piece and encourage people to share that, we amplify that. And we have influencers doing the same thing. So what we're doing is actually we're retargeting and reconnecting with people's networks that are generally colleagues and friends that have a much better connection with the person sharing the content, i.e. an influencer. So those three elements together are what creates the amplification. So what comes next then in terms of how we look at this? Well, very specifically, we would look at a donor lift of 10%. Now, this would be over a period of about 6 months. So it doesn't happen right away, but we need a minimum of 6 months. And the key is we would be using the same budget that we had previously to be able to achieve that, i.e. if you're doing a direct mail campaign and you had a budget of X, we would use the very same budget number, target using smart mail instead of addressed direct mail, and use the difference between that to generate the amplification. So an example of an audience for DM might be a 35 to 55 demographic, people that are interested in wellness. There might be a geographic area of Montreal, and even a language set that might be French. And on the social ads, we might look at an age group of 25 to 40, interest in sports, there might be more male, and location might be Toronto and English. And then on the influencer side, we can also look at individuals that are in the 25 to 30 demographic, but we can also understand the audience of influencers today. We can generate audience reports so that we can match all of these together to hit a much more specific target and generate better results with the same amount of dollars. So when we look at an engagement strategy with a nonprofit, it's not complicated, but I'll just give you some key details on what that might look like. So first of all, we'll drive media. And you can see the media is broken down into 5 areas. We've got influencers, typically they're paid, but you can use advocates internally. We have sharing that comes from social media. We call that earned media. You can have a link from direct mail, which we can amplify. That's earned media. So we're actually looking at going from hard copy, direct mail to earned media and having people share that on digital. Using social ads and emails from the organic side of the internet, which we would call owned media. So, what type of engagement are we sending them to? Well, one of them, one we certainly can do is send them directly to the website. But we know that if we engage people effectively on a microsite or some other element, we get a much better engagement than a website actually will create and a much higher conversion rate. So what we do is we work with microsites, a variety of them, and I'm going to highlight 4 of them here. One of them is a pop-up. It's an on-site conversion from visitor to email via sharing on the actual website itself. It pops up within 5 to 7 seconds, introduces a concept that gives them a privilege of providing their email and sharing with their friends with a special offer. For the nonprofit, it's basically a small little pop-up that would appear on your main website. Number 2 is an influencer app, which is used to distribute content through influencers or advocates internally. It's essentially a content delivery system, but instead of going through an ad, it's through people and through their social networks and their blogs, etc. We also take a lot of what the influencers create. A lot of them can be experts at what they write, and we take that content and publish it into a content hub and allow that great content to be available on your main website as a link. And it's usually in an Instagram-like format with images and so on that you can watch on a wall and view that. Really wonderful way to deliver that. And then finally, donation sharing microsite, which allows people to enter their name, share within some sort of an incentive, and share with their network. So we generate quite a bit of what we call organic sharing with that tool. Now, all of that, every one of those elements has an email capture. So we're able to capture the emails, put them into an email system, segment the database with the right questions, and then do a follow-up nurturing email. We know a lot of donations come from email and nurturing that. They might have started with a direct mail piece, went online, shared, and then we capture all that into the email database. Then we push them through to the final website or to the donation sharing microsite, and then we're able to capture the final ROI on all the channels and the influencers. So we really, truly can measure a 360 view and understand truly where the 10% donation bump came from. Now, a couple things that are key in all of this is what we call employee advocacy. Call it owned media, call it employee advocacy. Bottom line, employees love the brands they work for, and posts are trusted more than those. Posts are trusted more than those from the nonprofit. So posts from the influencers or advocates are better than ones coming directly from a hospital or a nonprofit organization. So we want to focus on that and use employee advocacy as part of the process. Number 2, key thing that I wanted to mention is good storytelling. Good storytelling helps us engage audiences. An ad doesn't engage people. A story does. And a story from an influencer or an advocate or an employee is strong, and as told by Instagram, the format on Instagram, which was pioneered by Snapchat, now has 100 million users already using the storytelling model. So a very good way to tell your story and share that with social networks. So as I said previously, to capture that 10% donation, we want to measure it. We're going to be able to measure a 360 view on a dashboard, on any device, and I'm going to cover that in a moment in more detail. But certainly we want to be able to do that. And as I drill into that, you'll see that we're able to, at the end of a campaign, really truly measure the overall impact of what's happened. And we can measure all the people who organically shared. We can measure all the donors that came in and we can measure influence donations, amongst other things. At the very top, you can see we've got reach, impressions, visits, contacts, opt-ins, and orders, which is a funnel or a journey that people have taken across the board to get to a donation. And having that all in one dashboard from all different channels, including direct mail, including email, including Facebook ads and all that, helps us understand what's working and what's not. The thing that we really stand out with, though, is understanding what an influencer does and their actual impact. And here you can see an influencer, Stacy, who shared with Kelly, that brought in a whole gamut of individuals, and it's multidimensional. And there's valuable insight in this and understanding organically who's actually bringing in donors, who's bringing in people that are connecting on email and engaging with us. And those are really important, along with your email database, is building a database of influencers that are bringing value to the nonprofit. So what are the steps for effective influencer marketing to achieve this 10% bump, or 10%, even 10% plus bump in your marketing? So one of the key things is the identification of expert influencers who would write the copy and sometimes share, but also amplifiers, which generally have large social networks that share the information out. Number two is activation. Influencer and follower activation engagement, activating those influencers and allowing them to have the right type of content that the brand or nonprofit wants to share. Then we automate that process, sending them an email notification, having them sign off on some legals if required. So those things are important, but also we want to understand the analytics around each influencer. What did they achieve? What did they achieve on Instagram? What did they achieve on Facebook? What did they achieve in terms of overall impressions? What did they achieve in terms of donations? So we're going to be able to supply the analytics, and then obviously the ROI, which we really stand with, is understanding the power of one influencer and understanding the power of all influencers as they work with social media. Just an aside, as you know, social media is a very powerful way to distribute content today, but it doesn't happen with a bot. Social media doesn't happen with a search on Google. Social media happens with people. And some people just do a better job at sharing information and have larger networks. So why not tap into that influencer, quote unquote, that has the power to really grow your actual donation base? The other area we want to cover on the influencers is you've got an ability to profile that particular influencer. Everything from their demographics, their social reach, which is the number of people on their networks, the profile of the individuals in their network, their geography of their network, areas of expertise they might be in, nonprofit, etc. And what other areas of traditional media maybe do they do? Do they do work on television? Do they do some work on radio? And many people do a combination. So you've got this real powerful combination of traditional media and this new upcoming and growing area called social media to share that information. So you'll have a very clear understanding of that profile for that influencer. Well, as we get into this employee advocacy program, which is used increasingly by nonprofits, even a small nonprofit can use this with a small group internally. But what we're going to be able to measure from your advocates is their score, their reach, the sharing that happened, the actions on marketing assets, the referrals, the donations, the engagements. And so now we can measure all of this in real time and understand which advocates really do that. You can even promote a contest internally where the top 3 employees maybe get gift certificates for your favorite restaurant, and encourage them to continue sharing the content with individuals as part of that organization. So really good way to share out that data and analyze that data. So what are the deliverables that we would do as part of all of this? Well, in a typical ad mail piece, we would send out, in an old model, say 200,000 pieces. And that's at the 47-cent price. So you're sending out an addressed direct mail piece targeting a specific audience from a list you might have bought, and you're trying to get new donors. So what we're suggesting is that we would look at a new model, and the new model is this: targeting with smart mail at a lower price point, taking that savings, applying it to targeted social ads, paid and organic influencers, providing you the analytics and ROI that's required, doing a survey as part of that, capturing some data on not only the person's email and some of the demographic information, but actually a survey on their interest in the nonprofit area that you're sharing. Setting up emails and nurturing those emails, the full setup and management, and all of that is additional value in the same price point as the old model. And thus we generate a minimum 10% lift over 6 months. So what's an actual case study? Can we share and show, has this worked? Is this something that we've done? And of course we have. So I wanted to share a real simple case study that we did with a nonprofit. And in this case, we can see the October one-time donation and then monthly donor donations. And so on the left-hand side, you can see the dates, and on the right-hand side, you can see the percentage change. So we can see, by the way, this particular nonprofit had seen a decrease in donations, which is, I know, a serious concern to many nonprofits today. And the overall donations were down approximately 10%. So what we saw is a net increase in donations, as high as 125% for a one-time donor, and as high as 203% for monthly donors. Now, the numbers aren't as great on the monthly donor side, but we saw a nice bump in that. And using the tools and the process that we just described, we were able to get a donation lift of 10%, 54,165 one-time monthly online donations. That is significant. And covering the ROI of time required, but also building and increasing your email list. So this is just over this period of time, but if you have the person's email and they continue to donate, they're going to continue to increase the overall base of donation amount over the year. So we were able to very clearly show a 10% bump in overall donations. Now, as part of that, we're also able to understand what influencers gave us the donations and which influencers influenced donations. So you can see here, we're able to parse that information out and highlight the very specific individuals and how much they brought in terms of donation amounts. So as part of a recommendation or next steps, a couple of things we'd like to say and recommend for the teams that are on this call is smart mail marketing. Take a look at it. Not necessary, not required, but certainly smart mail marketing, direct marketing using Canada Post's new tool, combined with social or just a social amplification program. The other thing you can do is just look at an influencer program. Just use advocates internally. We have a great price point for that. With the direct mail, if you're already doing direct mail, if you take a portion of that budget and apply it into this and just do a smart mail, you're able to not pay any additional fees at all. But you can look at an influencer program and look at pricing in just a moment. We can provide real-time reporting and analytics on social and influencers, launch an employee advocacy program, or amplify an existing program that you already have running. So some recommended next steps. Here's the pricing. So number one, this is for the subscription to Maven. And obviously services are additional. However, we can train internal, so your social team internally or your direct mail team to use the tool. It's not hard to use at all. And you guys can just use the tool itself and pay the subscription fee. Or number two, you can add our services on top of that, whether it be direct mail, any design work, or setup that might be required. We're happy to do that. So Maven Team for 12 months on a subscription is $2.99 a month. That includes free setup. So you might be able to use that for an employee advocacy program as an example. Okay, Maven Pro includes the engagement. So those four things, the pop-up, the microsite, the content hub, and all of that's included in Maven Pro. That's $4.99 a month. And there's a setup fee of one-time fee of $999 for that. And then Maven Enterprise is a cohesive package that includes everything for larger organizations that have greater than 20, 25 employees. And that includes a 12-month price point. There's a setup fee for that. You can do employee advocacy, running multiple campaigns on that, tracking your direct mail with a Pearl, all kinds of other additional features that are part of that. Now, part of the promotion that we're offering is the audience demographics generally are additional fees, but we're including that if you want to run an employee advocacy program and understand the audience of the influencers or employees you're working with, we're providing that free of charge. And as mentioned, there's services that are extra if required. Thanks so much for this part of the webinar. I'm going to jump on now and show you an actual online view of the system and how it's used to show results in real time.